Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville is a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with Dann Huff.
John.
Dave.
Stop mowing for just 1 second.
Okay.
Have you been on quince.com lately?
I'm literally on it right now.
By the way, your mower is so quiet. It's
I know.
electric mower. Have you seen the men's summer edit section?
It's amazing.
Gosh.
Okay, listen to this. If I'm just completely honest,
Okay.
and don't tell anyone.
Okay, shh.
But I bought like 6 things from there in the past month.
You're out of control.
I know it. Like the European linen relaxed shirt. I feel so relaxed and so European and so linen.
Well, John,
I got 3 of them.
You just got back from Europe. No
I
wonder you
did.
had those. Me personally, I've not been to Europe, so I just got the American. I'm liking the soft stretch crew neck, and that's just an American look.
That's so patriotic.
Yeah.
Look, Quince has closet staples
Wow.
that you'll want to reach for over and over.
Yeah.
And dare I say over. Right? Like cozy cashmere and cotton sweaters from just $50.
No,
You're going to think that's a
no.
typo, but it's not.
Oh, and comfortable lightweight pants that somehow work for both weekend hangs and dressed up dinners.
Oh my gosh. And the best
you
part?
can do anything on just the drop of a
Anything. Your legs are going to feel so light.
Gosh, they always do, John.
Dave, the best part, we haven't even said it yet.
We're having the best part yet.
Everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands.
Yep.
Right? Quince gives you luxury pieces without the markup by working directly with top artisans and only working with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices.
Somehow they're making money, John, because this feels
I don't know
like
how they're doing
this
it.
feels like a going out of business, but it's not.
Right?
It's going into business. Keep it classic and cool with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/dadville for free shipping on your order and 365-day return.
That's insane. That's QUINCE.com/dadville to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dadville.
You really do hear latency right now.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I mean, it's a couple milliseconds. Absolutely. Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah. I mean, the reason I know it is because, like, whenever I would, like, laptop world came around, and if I plug in somebody's laptop and I'm sitting there playing, it's like,
Yeah.
wait, that's not what's going on here. And
That's incredible. You're the first guest in 240 guests.
Yeah, no joke. For real, Dan.
It's not much.
You're the first.
Okay, so for the listener who doesn't know what latency is,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just
glad.
like the delay between whatever your voice or your guitar or whatever, and then hearing it come back to you.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm telling you, I hear no latency.
I love that you
that's
noticed
because
that.
you are mere children to me. That feels good. That feels good to
feels
have
great.
somebody tell you that.
Thank you for
Yeah.
saying
that
that.
feels great,
We're going
actually.
to loop that in recording.
Yeah.
So, folks, we have a legend, all caps legend with us today. A legend, Dann Huff, who is. Dan called earlier and was checking in because you were so excited about being on the podcast, you were going to be here early. You just couldn't wait. You
up an hour and a half early.
So Dan called and was like, "Hey, is this the right time?" But I told Dan when he called, I was on his Wikipedia page, and when I tell y'all, when you look at the collaborations part of his Wikipedia page, I think I counted that it takes 4 finger scrolls, to get through all of them. In which
Full scrolls.
Not
Not just
like
a
I had
touch.
to engage my forearm.
Yeah, you're going all the way up to the elbow.
But it's so we're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
Thrilled.
Thanks.
So I want to tell the people a little bit about Dann Huff and 2 ends because you're that nasty. That was good.
There we go.
I like that. Have you ever? You can use that if you want to, Dan. 2 ends.
I intend to. Yeah.
You look
I
unbelievable.
intend to. I'm a student here.
That's another shirt.
I am a student.
Okay, so Dan, at the beginning of every Dadville, we get what we call the brag sheet, and it's basically just all the amazing things you've done, just to clue people in. And so
I know about your brag sheet. Can I just
Please.
admit something to you?
Yes.
I'm really nervous about the lightning round, and I'm just going to let that sit. because I'm just telling you, I'm not lightning. So just prepare. I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
I don't know how long this is going to go. I'm going to
Dan,
give you
I feel
guys.
for you because that's the end of the interview.
Yeah, we don't want
you
you to
gotta
be
nervous
anxious
the
all
whole
the way.
time.
That's why I'm letting it out right now.
You're just-
Just so that because yes, I know this part, but all I can think about is lightning round.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna woo-saw for a minute here. Shut my eyes and
yeah.
it's not working. Okay, go ahead. Let's go for it.
You just fall asleep.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we have had some really slow lightning rounders. I mean,
Our lightning rounds.
we suggest a lightning round, but you do whatever you want.
They're a
This
light
is
approaching.
your hour.
They're a light approaching rain. A
You
lot
have
of times it's
you
not.
have no clue what
not
you've gotten into on this one, but go ahead.
Okay, so here, Dan, this is your life. Grew up here in Nashville. Began in 16 your playing career, which is really, really crazy because 35 now. Is that 37? Young 40s.
Somewhere around there. Ish.
A lot of people are going to love this. Was a part of the original Christian rock band Whiteheart with your brother David.
Yes.
Later joined Giant, which this is my favorite. And I have to tell you that our producer for the show is Jason Chadrick, who also worked for a long time with Premier Guitar. And when he put this together, you should see the info he gave me on you because this is his coup de grace. This is like,
I mean, he hasn't slept for like 4 days.
He wrote
He's
these without
ready
doing
to
any
edit.
research. So these are some of my favorite notes.
Thank you, Jason.
He was like, I don't need to look at the internet.
Thank
I know
you.
these things. But I love this note. He said, their debut album, Last of the Runaways, featured the significant single, I'll See You in My Dreams, which included, this is my favorite part, a minute-long guitar solo intro.
He got one thing wrong.
Oh, no.
No, I'm not going to. Should we let this be
Well,
a mystery?
No, let's
He's
go.
going to edit it out, obviously. So.
yeah.
What I want to know.
You said the song "I'll See You in My Dreams."
Yeah, right?
Remember, this career was fleeting. I was a rock star wannabe for about 2.5 years. You can get into that if you'd like to, but the song was called "I'm a Believer."
Oh, man.
That was the
Jason.
one, and it did, and I will say, as far as my ego got massaged readily in the late '80s when I'd listen on the radio and they played that song in its entirety. So there was like this burst
yes.
of about a minute and a half of guitar before a song
Amazing.
started. It's like, yeah.
Well, so can
Amazing.
this is, we're already going to get into the guitar nerdery, and you have to forgive me, Dan, but I can't have you be on this podcast without letting me fly my musical eagle wings. I don't know where that went. It felt great going in.
Yeah.
I got confused in halfway through. At the beginning of Like a Prayer, is that you doing all the guitar stuff when it cuts?
Somebody asked me. I played on a bunch of Madonna stuff. I can't remember all the songs, and I even texted Patrick Leonard.
Oh, yeah, who produced it?
Yeah, and I said, "Did I play it?" And he said, "I don't remember either." that was indicative of the '80s.
That is my favorite answer, maybe ever. On this
There's a lot of stuff. So could it be me?
Yeah.
On that, yes. I mean, some of the really hard skank rhythm. Now I played a lot of that stuff too, but some of that sounds like David Williams to me. So
Yeah.
so I don't know, and that's the truth. You know?
Okay. So we keep moving. Session musician, became prominent session guitarist in L.A. after moving there at 22, which is crazy. And I love that he put this note, and this is one of the things I love about Jason, filling a void left by Steve Lukather's departure from the studio scene to pursue rock dreams. That's just for
And
those
he acquired those rock.
He did. He actually
I love
achieved.
Steve. Yeah.
He actually
Friggin-
achieved this rock dream.
And he
You're exactly
paved.
right.
There was a shall we say a wide swath of real estate.
Yeah, I bet.
When Steve stepped out of that, and so
Mm-hmm.
for me that was something has to happen for you
Yeah.
to have a chance to do something.
Yeah, right.
Me and a lot of other guitar players, but it was great, and it was the stuff that dreams are made of.
Yeah.
And yes, Sherry and I, when we moved out there, we'd just gotten married a year before that, and the only thing her dad said, he said, "You can marry my daughter," when I asked him the traditional way, and he said, just don't take her far from home. And in a year
And you
from,
left
from
from
that, we
Nashville.
left for Los Angeles.
And he's also like, please don't try to be a rock guitar player.
Yeah,
Please.
all the above, all the
Don't-
above. Yeah,
Don't do that. Okay, so this is crazy, guys.
Yeah, this is where it gets
listen
crazy.
to here's some of the albums that you played on. Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, Whitney Houston's debut album, Amy Grant, so many albums, Barbara Streisand, Peter Cetera, which I want to tell you, Glory of Love is in my top 20 songs of all time. I'm not kidding. That song will forever be a favorite for me. Kenny Rogers, Madonna, like we said, True Blue, Like a Prayer, Paula Abdul, Straight Up and Cold Hearted Snake by Skaggs, Michael W. Smith. Guys, I could spend the rest of our time reading the albums he's played on. But here's the amazing thing. Shifts into not just Musician of the Year, which he won country music, the CMA Award in numerous years, but also a producer, which you've done so much too. And listen to these albums that he's produced. Lonestar, She Daisy, Faith Hill, Martina McBride, Rascal Flatts, Shania Twain, Keith Urban, Taylor Swift, which some people may know this. And then now, which is we're going to talk about, you have another instrumental album that you've released, which is called.
Oh, can we get that out of the way? I mean, no. The statement, the album I could talk about probably ad nauseum is. You'll have to edit me out on that, but it's the first thing that I released. I'm going to do this without getting too snarky about it.
Why did I think you had it? I thought somewhere it said you had one other one.
You look on Spotify and it's called Solos, and first of all, I've never listened to it on principle.
And what is it?
That's a great question. I asked a friend of mine, do you know Gordon Kennedy?
Oh, love Gordon.
Gordon and I grew up together. So,
that's right.
And he asked me, I saw him the other day, and I said something to him, and I said, you know that record? He said, yeah. He said, here's how I'm gonna be very gentle in this description, but I was in Christian music, and when I was signed in Christian music, I played on a lot of demos and a bunch of records. I was in Whiteheart, and somehow, let's just say the record company that signed me decided that it was okay to extract solos. It's called solos, by the way. Extract solos from recordings that I'd played on, and then place music around it.
What?
And release it. I was in Los Angeles, and I was doing quite well at this point, so that I had a little bit of name value. So I probably legally it was just fine because these were owned records.
Of course.
Yeah.
Ethically, that's a whole different. So, and I was never approached about it. And like I said, and somebody asked me, well, why didn't you just sue him? I said, to me, it's just so wrong. I can't even dignify it. I've never listened to it, and to wrap that up, before I start weeping, before I start seething. Gordon told me, he said the funny thing about it is, because he listened to it.
Oh, wow.
I just said, you listened to it.
Yeah, you had an emissary.
He said 3 of the solos are him.
No.
Are you serious?
No.
I said, Gordon, they're probably the best ones on there, too. So
well, in that situation, it would be like, I've actually been in a similar situation, but it's like, you don't want to listen to it because if it's terrible, it makes it worse. And if it's good, it still makes it worse. It's like there's no win if you listen to it.
No, I had nothing to do with it, and it's just wrong. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And the irony is the person that was involved in doing this, I don't dislike. I don't know. To me, you know how you in the music business, you know how, or in any business, I suspect, but when people say, well, it's just business.
Yeah.
As if you have personal.
Yeah.
And you have business.
Yeah.
And to me, everything is personal.
Yeah.
I could never do business with somebody without it being personal because, I mean, all you have is your integrity and your word and stuff like this. So
and there's a way to do business that honors your personal relationships with the people you work with.
And even if you're not doing it for the right reasons, it's the best way to do business, right? So either way you slice and dice it, you know, if you want to be in a particular business, the game, you know, for a long time, it matters.
Yeah.
Small little sandbox like Nashville, you really can't, you know, you can't exist for a long time, I don't think, unless you're insanely just perfect, you know, and very few people are that. So,
well, it's funny you said that. I had that happen with a couple of people in my career where they kind of guys that I played with, and they were like, hey, it's just business. And, you know, neither one of those guys went on to do music in Nashville for very long. And I think it's just hard to, it hurt me so deeply. And I was like, well, no, I need to like toughen up. Maybe they're right. It's just business, but it still makes me sad when I think of those interactions. And I think to your point, it is such a small world. Like people sniff that stuff out so quickly. and that's why they are both in prison. So
This is okay, and I promise, I swear, this is the last thing I'm gonna say, unless it's not. The only thing, because
that needs to be the title of the episode.
You poked something there.
Yeah.
This thing, because I just saw that, and I would say it's just embarrassing to me. But, that I'd be represented like that, because it wasn't. I didn't, like I said, I didn't really have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But the silver lining is that I got to 40 years later. I'm a little late bloomer. I did get to do a project, and anyway, so you take it as your podcast.
That's actually an instrumental that you wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, and sanctioned. So it's good. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get there. Here's what I want to tell everybody who's listening this story, because every now and then when your name comes up, I tell people this story because it was so, I've done music now for 26, 5, 7 years or something, right? And I feel like I've been around a lot of really talented people, and it's one of the great joys of my life is to be just in proximity with really gifted people. It's like my favorite thing. But so one of my favorite stories about you, and anytime people bring you up, I'm like, guys, I have to tell you how cool this was. So Lady A had recorded a couple of songs. One of them was a song called On a Night Like This. And so David Haywood, Dave calls me and he's like, hey, we can't make the string section. Will you go? Dan's cutting with the strings. We just love for you to be there, just to, just somebody to represent us, And I was like, of course. And, you
vote of confidence for the producer.
Just kind of like, none of them could be there.
He said supervise Dan.
Yes,
if I recall correctly.
He said put the super in supervise. And I was like, well, that's me, honestly. And this is just business. I said that and hung up. But I just remember going, and of course, just being around you is always such a gift because you're just such a great dude and talent. So I was like, I was so excited. Got to, the studio, walk in, and, you and I are talking, and I'll never forget. I was so amazed by this. The strings start playing. They're playing through the song, and I just remember we were just talking, and I remember the whole time thinking like, do I need to be quiet? But you were just so affable, and you're talking, you're asking me those questions. They're recording the whole time, and I'm thinking like, is he how is he? And I will never forget, we had this whole conversation they're doing, and you turned without a beat. You're like, yeah, hold on one second. Hey, guys, okay, I feel like maybe bar 20. I didn't love the movement on this. And I think, is somebody playing that high register? Okay, great. And last thing, with the cellos, I think maybe more of a staccato thing on the bridge. And I just remember being like, that's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. That in a fully engaged conversation, we're like, yeah, what's going on? And then you turn and just nothing had happened.
I wish, Dan, you would have been like, sorry, guys. It's just we got a lot of, the riffraff in here today. So I have been paying attention, but it's been tough.
This guy's trying to get a record deal, and he will just not.
He claims he wrote the song. They always claim they wrote the song.
He will not let up. So I want to say that to brag on you because, you're, again, and sitting down and hearing latency when no one else we've ever had is hearing latency. It speaks to your talent.
My ears aren't that good. You give me way too much credit.
No. But here's the thing I wanted to ask you to start off with, because I think this has been so fun for me. I don't know, 6 months ago, I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I follow Vertex Effects, right? Yeah. And I see you, and I'm like, Dan. And I go through all the videos, and I'm listening to that. And I thought, I wondered, because here's something I think is so unique about you in this town, is you've had kind of two incredible careers. And obviously they've crossed. Your playing career, production career, obviously you've played on things you've produced. Yeah. But I just feel like when I talk to people about you in town, especially my age and younger, being 47 and then kind of the younger crowd, they know you as a producer. They're like, Dan Huff, the producer, and yeah, he can definitely play. But I'm like, I wonder, have you seen from doing those videos people that have suddenly been like, oh, dude, you played on that well, or guys that you use in the studio? Have you seen, has it sort of risen the flag back up a little bit on your playing?
Yeah, it's yeah, there's no one size fits all. I think some people, artists that I've been producing records now probably for a quarter of a century. That sounds official.
Yeah.
That's my day job. And by the way, I have changed my pronouns again.
Oh, congrats.
Okay.
It's not producer anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's guitar player.
Okay.
We're back to guitar player.
For the album. I'm so sorry.
That's late life development. It's musical fetal position for me. But anyway, I don't know what started that. I'll get to your question. Sorry about that, young Dave. As a producer, it's added value. I can't charge to play guitar, so they get a free guitar player.
Right.
It's never been something that they have to accept. As a matter of fact, and this sounds self-deprecating, and it is to a certain degree, but I think it's true. We all only have so many ideas. I just I rounded up to 3 for me, and when you collaborate exponentially, that number goes up, right?
Yeah.
But I have 3 good ideas. I know that, and so the same for guitar playing. And to make it a career producing, you have to make sure. I kind of observed as I was playing for producers, which was like the ultimate school.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know I was going to be doing this, but you see that the people that have careers are the people that they were able to work with a large variety of musicians because of like I said, I mean, even if you have 20 ideas, that's still going to get short-lived if you make the same record. So consequently, same thing about playing. It's great. It helps me cast other musicians, specifically guitar players in this conversation. They don't have the pressure of having to do anything but be themselves. So I can, if there's something that's lacking, I can, it's an easy thing for me to take it to my studio and do that.
Do it there.
So it's kind of win-win. But yeah, some people I have noticed the older I get, at first it was kind of, hey, guitar player Dan Huff, kind of, again, it's all about the ego.
Right.
I mean, I've done a cage match with that all my whole life, but and I'm
who's winning?
I haven't been. You can tell by my hesitation who's winning. Today it's a good day. But you may drag me down a path. As a matter of fact, even talking about my career, but it is. I have noticed it with some of these younger artists that now I'm still active, and they're younger than my kids, and some of them I guess know that I play, or some of them I don't think do.
Yeah.
Which is fine because again, I'm when people hire me to produce the records, I'm an extension of a session player, but it's the idea is to make. What am I telling 2 musicians? What a producer does. It's to make their vision come alive, right? So it's not my vision. I mean, I'm a collaborator.
I think we're going to do the ad if you can just put the frisbees down. John, Guy, you've gotten so into that lately. I
always cook with frisbees now.
Anyway,
I'll get back to that. Listen, Dave, this reminds me, there was a time when the origins of Dadville, they were just a dream, right?
Yeah.
But then that dream turned into the podcast you're listening to right now, starting a business.
A business, John. Starting a business like this is a dream many of us share.
That's right.
But too many of us let it remain just a dream.
Yeah.
Don't hold yourself back.
Stop.
Thinking this silly thought.
Right.
What if I don't have the skills? What if I can't do it alone? Turn those what ifs into why nots with Shopify by your side, John.
That's right, Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., right? And they help you design a website with beautiful, ready-to-go templates to match your brand style.
Get help with everyday tasks like enhancing product images, writing product descriptions, or generating discount codes with Shopify's AI tools created for commerce.
Promote your brand with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And Shopify's always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support.
They could be 23, but they're 24, John.
Go all the way.
They're committed. Turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling at shopify.com/Dadville.
Go to shopify.com/Dadville.
Shopify.com/Dadville. Hit them with that sound, dog.
All right, let's get serious for a second, Dave.
Yeah.
Listen, can I just say something?
Please do.
I'm gonna start off by saying this. Featuring thousands of study notes drawn from the best-selling NIV application commentary series, the NIV application Bible helps you understand Scripture and apply it to your modern life, Dave.
I'm going to follow your energy, John.
Do it.
I love the way the NIV application Bible pairs a deeper understanding of the ancient biblical text with contemporary applications of the lessons found within it.
You stole the words from me, which you're not supposed to do. That's biblical. I totally agree. It gives a new way to understand the Bible. and what the Bible means for your life today.
Here's what you find inside the Bible, John. Not
Tell
inside yourself, but inside the Bible. But if you read it enough, it'll be inside yourself, okay? Original meaning notes that help you understand each passage in its context.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll up you one.
Okay.
But you're not supposed to gamble. That's probably in the Bible too. How about application notes that help you integrate the teachings of the Bible into your daily life? Or, I got more here, questions for growth, right? In each chapter of the Bible that encourage reflection on how to apply Scripture to life.
I'm going to one-up you, which I know is not in the Bible. And don't forget, people to know to explore the lives of biblical
characters. Yep, I was going to say that one too. You can save an additional 10% on any NIV application Bible and NIV application commentary resources by visiting faithgateway.com/NIVAB and using our promo code Dadville.
I'm going to say it one more time, which is biblical, John. That's faithgateway.com/NIVAB and promo code Dadville for an extra 10% off. John, no, it's my turn. I know we're almost done with this prayer time, but I wanted to end with one more thing. I've noticed as I get older, I have more and more trouble quieting my mind at night. Like I'm trying to go to sleep. I can't stop thinking about my to-do list, errands, my next haircut, everything I need to get done.
Okay, well, can you quiet right now? Quiet your mouth so I can tell you what will help.
Sorry.
Okay, some amazing sheets from Boll and Branch.
Oh.
All right? They help you truly unwind each night with a softness so extraordinary, softer than my voice right now. Your whole body will relax right into sleep. Boll and Branch sheets are made free from toxins with the finest 100% organic cotton, right? They feel buttery soft to start, and they get softer with every wash.
John, can I be honest with you? I feel like my body is getting softer with every year. That sounds great. I'm going to need a 30-night worry-free guarantee and a promise that B&B, as we call it, Boll and Branch sheets, are ethically crafted by expert artisans who make fair wages. I'm out, John. I'm out.
Well, listen, hey, done and done, sir. Boll and Branch does both.
Well done.
Feel the difference an extraordinary night's sleep can make with Boll and Branch. People, listen, get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com/Dadville.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/Dadville to save 15% and unlock free shipping. Free shipping unlocked at that moment. Exclusions apply. That account that I just brought up, for those who are listening don't know, is a really cool account because it's a guitar effects company.
Yeah.
And what they've done, I love this so much when people do this, and I follow these guys, and it's the coolest thing is they get Dan and other successful players, and they'll go back in the studio and mute their part, and then have the players play along to those songs, the same parts. You can see what they're playing and hear what they're doing. It's really, really cool. Yeah. But what's so amazing about yours, and I can't imagine for younger generations that know you but don't know that context of you, or know you in that context rather, is that, you know, these aren't just like songs. These are colossal songs. So it's not just like, oh, here's some songs Dan played on, pull them up, and, oh, I kind of think I know that song. I mean, it's like,
these are like core memories.
These are core memory
people.
songs. And so I just thought I was like, I bet you there have been people that know you that popped up in their timeline. And they went, wait a second, he played on that?
Yeah.
And so it recontextualized you all of a sudden from like great producer who can obviously play to like, whoa. I don't think I knew sort of first half of life Dan. You know, it's got to be such a funny thing to deal with because you know that. I mean, you're good friends with a lot of people. But there's got to be sort of a generation that's seeing these that are guitar players going like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Well, I'm in the class of, my parents listened to that. These are their favorite music growing up.
Yeah.
You know, that's
right.
And the other caveat too, I mean, there's a re-obsession that I've noticed, right? Re-obsession.
That's good.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
With the 80s all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I thought that was dead and buried. And remember, I mean, I was only in my early 20s.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So my memory of it is a bit hazy, and it was I was just glad to be in the rooms.
Yeah.
You know, and it was kind of, I mean, how much do you remember from your 20s?
Oh, I know.
And I was in I was in LA during what we call the cocaine years.
Yeah.
Now, not for me. I was too chicken to do drugs, which I don't know what that says about me. It was good that I didn't.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, because I didn't have to go through all that.
Right.
But so even without that accoutrement. I did not. I mean, I'm 20 years old, and every day is a dream afresh, and you're just trying to hang on, white-knuckling, and get called back for the next session.
Totally.
So
I mean, it's such a high pressure position to be in. The player
so.
for like Dave and I, we're always the artist in the room. I mean, I've never been. Maybe there have been a couple times where I have come in and I'm the player, but I'm not a player. Dave and I aren't like session musicians where we go in and we play. So we always sort of have this insulation around us that, like, if we're playing on the record, what we're playing is what we're playing. We wrote the song, like,
right.
you know.
Okay.
But the player, I mean, these guys come in and it's like whatever your instrument is, you are like a fire hose. You're expected to be a fire hose of ideas.
Yeah.
But not only ideas, but like precision and flexibility, and the clock is ticking, and there's all kinds of, egos in the room and that kind of thing. And you're having to kind of, balance like what's going on between how's the artist feeling? How's the producer feeling? Are they at odds? Are they at odds because of what you're playing? Yeah. And these situations that you were in at such a young age, like, what was that like to be in the room? You say, like, you're just trying to do your thing and like get a call back. Like, what was that like early on where you're like, I don't know how many shots you get at this. Like, if it doesn't go well today, maybe that's it. What was that like?
I honestly don't think I thought it out.
Wow.
To that degree. Sherry and I have talked about this because I really haven't thought too much about that period of my life since we moved back to Nashville. And it was only, a side note of that, it's only been in the last year. Sherry just said to me, Sherry is my wife, by the way, quit being such a curmudgeon. Take some interviews. Talk.
Wow.
I just wouldn't. And it wasn't on any kind of principle or high horse that I was. It's like that happened then, and who's interested in the 80s? Well, yeah, I got that answer loud and clear.
Yeah.
But we've talked about it since, and I've kind of put my toes back into the water a little bit, at least in revisiting that. And I don't have total recall, but Sherry made a comment the other night. She said, we were probably number one, so naive. And I think that plays to your benefit in the fact that I had a healthy respect for it, but I don't think I had an abject fear.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was you're too young in life, and you're bulletproof to some degree. So I think there was a combination. I was aware everything that you said, John, as far as you're only as good as your last session. But I probably had my 10,000 hours
by then,
and it was there was a massive amount of timing. I call it luck, whatever you want to call it, has to be there. But you have to have equal parts, if not more, of the fluidity.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that people don't talk about in session playing, or ask. Like if I'm speaking to young musicians and they want to know the secrets, as if there are any secrets. It's not because usually you can see in their eyes when they'll hear something like, say, one of these records you guys have commented about. Well, heck, I can play that. Yes, technically you can play that, but the problem is you don't know where you started, and because the clock is ticking. To be fair, they were paying us extremely well, but you could have, let's say on Monday, you could go in there, your instincts, you plan a song. The artist, producer, whoever's kind of driving it, you have to kind of also kind of learn that, as you said.
Yeah, with the energy.
The dynamics, yeah. And all your instincts it's like high fives at the end of the day. You'll be called back. This is great. This is the hit record. All the cliche stuff. And then on Tuesday, you're riding that wave. Yeah, I'm pretty good. You're patting yourself on the back. You get into the next situation, and those instincts come. It's like, oh, I'm going to watch this. And you play what you just know is going to be so perfect for the moment. And at worst, they're just apathetic. There's nothing.
Right.
There's no reaction.
Yeah.
Or, not at all. I don't really like that. The artist hates that. Whatever.
Right.
Well, that's where you start learning what a session player is.
That's like where it starts.
Because you number one, your ego has to really be under control, because it's not about you.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a transaction. They paid you. Boy, I could use a really nasty metaphor. What is this show rated?
It depends on where you want it to go. We follow you.
Yeah, we're kind of at a fork in the road right now.
Well,
I'm feeling like.
You're paid to make somebody feel really good.
Yes.
How's that?
Yes.
We'll just
I like
leave it
that.
at that, right?
Yeah.
No, I grew up in the evangelical South, so I know there are boundaries here. But I do like prodding there for a number of reasons. But in essence, that's the transaction, and that's also as an older musician or somebody that produces records. I've been in those situations. So when somebody starts pulling that on me,
man,
it's like, you hate to pull the grandpa card, but no, that's not what you do. That's not.
Yeah.
So yes, you have to. Can you edit me down, by the way, on this podcast?
No, we don't. No.
Great. You're doing great.
We actually slow the guest voice down.
Oh God, I'm so freaking chatty.
We have to speed mine up.
Vince Gill, I listened to him on your podcast. He is so perfect with his sound bites.
Well, we did 6 recordings with him until we got it right.
Yeah, and a lot of that was AI.
I knew it. He is so overrated, isn't he?
So here's what I want to ask to your point, Dan. Here's the thing that I was thinking about. So you in this season where you're playing on these records, like John said, that are just like these just humongoloid records. I'm sure there's some you're going, hey, this is a Michael Jackson song. I know exactly who this is. Whoever. I'm sure there's some where you're like, oh, it's like a new, when you played on Whitney Houston's first record, right? Like, I'm sure there was some buzz, but there was no proof of concept there. You're just going like, hey, she sounds great singing. But and especially knowing again all of this being that you played on records that are just monster hits, global hits, right? These records, and what I mean singles, but also records. But you think about, again, like A Prayer, Man in the Mirror, whatever. Are you sitting in there in those moments? Because I just have this sort of glorified version of this because I know what they are now. But are there times where you're sitting in the middle of these songs going, my gosh, this is a monster? Or is it kind of you're like, hey, who knows, we'll see. Is there some sense in that season, because it was such a heyday back then in L.A., that you're like, man, babe, all these songs this week, they're just wait, we'll hear them in a few months on the radio. Or you kind of like, who knows?
Probably the latter.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
You probably played on a lot of records that you're like, this is a hit, and then nothing happened with it.
No truer words at that point. I mean, in the music business, I mean, the useful metaphor, I love baseball. And if you hit lifetime 300, 320,
that's true.
You're in the Hall of Fame, right? I mean, flop that around, you're hitting what, minus 680?
Yeah.
So most of the things you do, I mean, if you're measuring them by the commercial metrics, you're right, it's all failures. I mean, I thought some of the best music I ever played on, nobody ever heard.
Really?
Yeah. And consequently, a lot of times the hits, I mean, that's not what, as a musician, it didn't drive me. I knew it drove a career, and so to be associated with hits, but I never thought that way. And I've kind of felt the same way in producing music too.
Wow.
I'm not this all know. People. The funny thing is, this is something I've found it to be so true. The more you are honest, what I like this song. My instincts are that we should do this. You do it, and if you've had enough success, people think that you know the secret.
Yeah,
And the more you say that you don't know the secret, your status keeps rising. Oh, he's hiding something. I'm not hiding anything.
Right.
I'm such an open book. And as a matter of fact, I mean, I'll just throw this out there. And this is not news, but I mean, here's my song sense, or my sense of what's commercial. When I first heard the Thriller record, this was right before we moved out to the West Coast. I just didn't think it was great. Watch, I'll never get another call to produce a record now. At least anybody that listens to your show. But you know, obviously, I've revisited that a couple times, shall we say, and amended my idiocracy. But no, it just you don't think about. At least I didn't. You know, I just wanted to play the guitar.
Yeah.
It was pretty stupid and simple.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to pay, the rent on our duplex. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my window, my blinder version of the world. It was through the lens of a guitar. And we mentioned Steve Lukather. You know, there and his forebearers, Larry Carlton and Lee Ritenour, people like that. Of course, the rock stars, Jeff Beck, and you can go to this. But Steve affected me so much. When I say fill those shoes, I don't think anybody filled his shoes. But in order to get in that game, you had to know what everybody was doing, and that occupied all your time because. The demands and again, if I think about it now, like if it was somebody that I know I'd be more nervous for them than for myself. And I think it's just youth, you know.
Yeah.
So
and what a master class you had. You spoke to this earlier in the producers you sat under, because you sat under the absolute legends. I mean, David Foster and Quincy Jones. I mean, Mutt Lange.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Tony Brown.
I mean, humongous producers, like truly legends in their field. And here you are, you know, even at the osmotic level or very intentionally, you're soaking up all these things in a room. You're seeing like, how does
right.
Back one adjective ago. I'm sorry. This is what was it?
Osmotic. You don't know you're learning, but you are. That's just, I'm a songwriter, Dan, so I kind of dabble.
So with those three producers, though, right there, like, I'm just curious. This is sort of just to prep you for the lightning round.
Your job, John, is to keep things on track. I can just tell. Because John is looking at me.
Well, this of any interview, this is the one where I'm going to have to keep Dave from, this could be 8 hours of.
Keep it me, too. Thank you. Yeah.
No, but so what, with those three, Mutt Lange, Quincy Jones, David Foster, what would you say if you had to do a mini lightning round here? Like superpower of each of those. What are each of their superpowers?
That's a great
question.
Well,
the one that they immediately share, the one thing that I attest to with any of those people, when you show up in their world, they're so good at what they do. The level of expectation is astronomically high.
Wow.
And with that, now you could look at that and think to yourself, that bar is so high it's scary. What I felt, at least what I remember feeling, is that you're asked to that party, you're invited to that party.
Yeah.
And so you are worthy of that.
Yes.
And
what
so
a great word.
It elevates the room.
Yeah.
And I've been with musicians that do the same thing. They elevate a room by their presence. Mutt Lange, I've made the joke, but it's really not a joke. I think he could, that beautiful wooden fence outside the studio, he could get music out of that. He just waits you. He waits for you, and he. Some people had a hard time playing with him. I talked to some other studio musicians. I knew what he was going for, and sometimes I would just pick a spot on the wall and just play until he said yes, you know. But you never feared not being represented in the best fashion.
Wow.
Which, man, you know, talk about something that would raise your value. My memory of Quincy Jones was similar. He gave a great amount of autonomy to players.
Wow.
You know, he was a master musician.
Yeah.
And I think because he had that pedigree and that much success, he had nothing to prove.
Yeah.
And so wow. He was interested. I felt he was so interested in what you had to bring. And of course, you know, he could replace you 1,000 times over. So there's no pressure in that situation. David Foster, just he's such a musician's musician. You know, on a piano, right? You can have 20 people on the same piano; they're going to all sound different. You know, and he had one of those. It's between it's all of the subtleties that his playing. Are you a fan?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan? I mean, yeah. It's just his voicings, the touch internally between the notes, the note value, all this stuff that you spend 10 hours with a MIDI scenario,
right?
And if you, but it was just natural to him. And he had the same. He had the same effect as far as if you got to play for David Foster, you knew it was going to be a badass record.
Yeah.
And so, and he could articulate things musically just like
so quickly.
Yeah, all of them. But those scenarios in my young life was preparing me for something I had no clue I was going to do.
Amazing. Again, an osmotic experience, which is the name of my jazz band. So you moved to Nashville. You spend this time in LA. What gets you back here?
I got briefly bored, started that rock band Giant.
Yep.
And we had
Gigante in Spanish. Go ahead.
Yeah. We thought we had some marginal success coming out of the box, and I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to be a rock star now.
So y'all get signed in L.A.
We did a record out there. We did it in London, but we released it,
nice flex
and Sherry and I had just had our first kid. And we just thought, it'd be nice since I don't have to play sessions anymore the rest of my life.
You're like, I'm a rock star now.
Yeah, I'm yeah. And so we moved to Nashville, and we came back, and because her family's here, my family's here, and we wanted to have more kids. And
so were you reading the room on L.A. feeling like I'd rather do this doesn't feel like somewhere, or are you like, let's just get back home to where we're from? That feels more like.
Yeah, it had been a wonderful ride, and again, I wasn't even 30, so it was. We weren't thinking long term. We didn't have that much life experience.
Yeah,
it says I don't need to play sessions to make a living, and this is a new path. I didn't expect this, but this is going to happen. And so we moved back to Nashville, and we cut a second record, and I'll never forget. I was in New York. We were mixing something. And somebody said, "Hey, you want to check out this new band, Pearl Jam?" And I saw the video for Even Flow. I don't know if you guys remember that, but Eddie Vedder was climbing up this little theater wall. And I do remember, it was a seminal moment. I was riveted by that. And I thought, I am nothing like that. And that is riveting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it was a prophetic moment. It was like, this thing that I'm involved in is not going to last. As a matter of fact, the whole thing's going to come crashing down. You could sense it in the air. There's an electricity in the air. And of course, then you hear Nevermind, Nirvana, and then you hear this. And so, yes, it came crashing down, I'd say mercifully within about a year.
A year.
We were playing over in Europe, and the European crowds are a little less fickle than the States as far as for melodic kind of rock, which is what we were. But you just sense the energy drain. It was going towards something else, and so it was like we had a decision to make. Let's either move back to LA, and I'll try to resume my career out there. And we just didn't want to do it. And so,
wow.
And country music at that time, which I knew nothing about, was. I had a producer named James Stroud, and he was on fire and doing so much, and he was really good at what he did, and he was very kind. But he just had me play on every one of his records, and he was doing like 20 to 30 records a year.
Oh my gosh!
And I, of course, I would articulate to him, I know nothing about country music, and he said, that's not the drill here. You just do what you do.
Yeah.
Whatever you play, we'll surround you with a cast that'll take care of that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so my education began, and it was like, here I'm back to doing what I normally do, and the transition was not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Just I was back in the studios.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'll be playing in Nashville, and I got to experience something new. The learning curve was massive. Because when I say I was not good at country music, I really mean, if anything, I was a pretty good judge. Of what was good as a guitar player. And I remember sitting with Brent Mason the first time.
Oh my gosh!
And I
can't imagine that.
Oh man, it was hurtful. But I did
hurtful.
Well, it was just hurtful. It was like he's so good at this and I'm so bad. But but then I had a pedigree of something else that
Yes.
I did, and once I let go of that, you just go, we all have our contributions.
So kind of getting back to when you started out in LA and you were in those rooms,
Yeah.
and you had that necessary amount of confidence and that youth and that naivete. What was it then like? It's kind of like, the second act as a player, you're here in Nashville. I'm hearing more insecurity maybe in your tone as you're recalling.
Wisdom. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
If I was insecure, it was because I knew why I was insecure.
Right, right.
So, but I also had
like counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But I had, but remember, I had been affirmed
Right.
for the '80s. So, and I was getting in all the big rooms again, sessions because of my reputation of playing on these records. So it was I'd say the tension, the polarity between those two realities. Yes, I had played on big time records. Yes, I had all this experience and I was good.
Yeah.
No, I was horrible at this, and that thing just kept. It's like watching a ping pong match,
Yeah.
And you want me to tell you a fun experience, a little anecdote?
As many as you have of these.
Yeah,
people
please.
This involves Brent Mason and myself.
Who? Let me just, for those who don't know Brent Mason, probably, arguably the best and most recorded country lead guitar player of all time.
And not limited to country music. He's a great jazz player.
Incredible.
I mean, everything. I mean, he's a virtuoso. It's close, and I don't use that word lightly.
Yeah.
I remember James Stroud. Like I said, he could pass wind and it would be a hit record. It was just that. It was just that crazy. I remember he had me on a session at Glacier Studio. I mean, I'm going to start perspiring when I say this now, but so, and I knew Brent Mason was sitting across from me as close as all of us are right now, and there was a song, and it needed a chicken picking solo.
Oh,
that's an easy
slam dunk.
Dan, you do it. I was what?
On the talk back. I'm sorry, James.
You're like, no, I'm Dan.
Yeah. Just Dan, I want you to do the solo. And it's like, no, come on, man. And Brent is sitting right there.
Brent, why don't you scoot a little closer to Dan?
Oh, and I cannot tell you. If I marinate in this long enough, I will start perspiring. It was the most painful, humiliating thing in my life. I mean, I got through it, but yeah, it was just.
My gosh!
And Brent just sat there, just absolutely, just unfazed, stone emotion, nothing. I mean, he probably, I'm guessing, because he's a very sensitive person. He probably was crying inside for me. And or may have said, "Get your ass back out to the West Coast. You don't get this." No, it was no, but it was a great those years in the ’90s. It was again, it was educational. And if you're a musician, the joy is not the getting to the destination. It's the journey, right?
Right.
So just more to learn.
But you know what's great about that time too is you playing because. Man, Smitty's records in the '90s were so good, and I think it must have been a nice relief knowing that while you're sitting in rooms sweating to death, you're getting call from him going in and playing what you do so well.
Oh,
and you're able to kind of I am good. I have value. I can contribute. Between.
I still can see my reflection in the mirror. Yeah. No. I mean, that's when I met Mutt Lange too, and that started.
Oh, and that's
And it was. Then he was. He was doing. It was pre-Shania Twain, but yeah. So I mean, there was an integration. I didn't totally lose my confidence on everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that I would. I didn't. As country music developed, it became the rock music of the '80s in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so, I was, I just was there, and I was called, so I was a part of that movement. Again, none of this I intended. It just kind of fell in my lap.
Right. So how did production start?
I think the reason I got a lot of calls to be a session player is because I understood the relationship of things. I was always enamored with the relationship of why does this passage, this lick, whatever you want to call it, sounds so good on this chorus and not the same on this chorus. So that was all my high school years. I was just fascinated by that. So you learn how to play, where you play, what you play in relationship to other things.
Yeah.
So so my understanding of music was I would say, if there was a foundational representation of that, or description, it was all relationship oriented. It wasn't a piece of gear. It wasn't any one thing. It was all those things. So it's like, if you use another analogy, if a studio musician is a subcontractor, the guy that's going to be called to do your drywalling or your electrical or your plumbing, the producer would be the general contractor.
Yeah.
And so that was just a natural progression. My interest being around so many good producers, and once you kind of play on so many records, you kind of get an idea of how to build that project. And so I had a little recognition of that and a desire, and I got swatted around a little bit. It's funny, you can play on, and by this point I was playing on a lot of hits in Nashville, country music hits, and it's funny, my first foray into it, the currency then was, a producer had to walk in with the songs. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Most producers were also the publishers back then. Yeah. That was a kind of interesting coincidence. They own the studios too. What? So wow, amazing how that works. And I just want to make music, and so I would go into these I played on hits. So I knew what hits were, and I'd go into these publishing houses to listen to songs for these artists that I get called for. And they're pulling out of their third and fourth and fifth drawers, not top shelf, shall we say, and dancing around and go, here's a hit. And I just played on a couple this week, and
doesn't sound like that.
That doesn't sound anything like that. Maybe I'm missing something. But that was the transition was a little tough until, here's the big moment with the drum roll. I'll never forget, I was sitting with Mutt Lange, and I don't remember when it was, what record it was, but he just out of the blue, he said, you really should be a producer. Have you ever considered that?
Wow. And for him to say that.
For anyone.
You listen, it's like, and I said, I don't know. And, but he said, I really haven't, just watching you, I said, I think you should throw your hat in the ring. And so he made it easy. Because he and Shania, they were married at that time, and I think the story goes, Faith Hill told me about this.
That is 3 substantial names.
I know.
10 seconds.
It's
you're like, Dave, this is my life. Look, welcome to being Dan Huff.
Go ahead, and I know what that makes me. I get it. I know.
Just a man telling a true
Just
story.
a guy telling a true story about his true life. That's what that makes you.
There's
the
you can't
envy of the
defend
town.
But they said, those people said to that person, how's that? There we go. Back that thing up. It said, have you ever thought about hiring Dan? Faith was making a transition.
Oh yeah.
At that stage in her life to a new producer, and she said, well, no, I hadn't considered it because I was playing on a record.
Yeah, yeah.
He's the guitar player.
Yeah.
So bottom feeder, I think that was what. and so,
Luddite.
But as a result of Mutt Lange, and then I'm sure because of Shania too. No, you'd probably be really good. So that got me in the door.
Wow.
Yeah. And then then things kind of happen. And at that time, I did get a gig. I was producing the band Megadeth. Because it's from my rock days, so that was an interesting transition. So Faith and Megadeth about the same time.
Good night.
And Faith had
a lot of different settings.
Oh, I was going to say on the board. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Man, you're in a different world when you go in the studio and you put in ear protection.
No,
yeah, I swear.
Just for Faith. That was free.
Good one. That's good.
That's just free.
Yeah. No, I mean it was. Yeah, we had a big box of Megadeth, and every time you go in and you start working. You put in head. Oh my gosh! Yeah,
because it was so loud.
Anyway, but so Faith had a couple of hits, and one of them was a song that was just I did think this was a hit, by the way. So this was one of those situations where it was a song called "Let Me Let Go." That
oh my gosh, that Vince
sang, And
What a song.
It was a great song.
What a song. Crazy chord changes too, by the way.
Just beautiful. Steve Diamond and now Dennis Morgan wrote it. I think they're the two.
I think you're right.
It was beautiful. I always thought I did it too fast, but that gets
really. You really think that?
I do. I did. I have a hard time listening to anything I've ever done.
But it probably made it more of a single because it was up.
Who knew? But it all of a sudden that's the, as a musician, your credibility, your currency.
Yeah.
Just everything. It's about the last day. If you please somebody with what you did, in the world of producing, the bar is, was it successful? Did it make money? That's the truth, and that's it's because that's just the way it is. So nobody's hiring you for your better sounding records. If it's not successful, nobody cares about that. As far let's just say from the commerce side of the record companies.
Right.
But that garnered people saying, "Who is this guy?" What So they threw me some little they throw crumbs out, and there was just a string of hits that came out.
Well, you were able. I mean, to give you credit there, Dan. I mean, you were able to take, as you said, those crumbs and turn them into cookies.
But
that's free. That's free, guys. I have an
I would have gone with
course.
scones.
There's sure. It's
Just to
2025
appeal to
and it's European.
different audience.
Makes it European.
Do you guys practice this?
We
stuff?
had that whole
It's
bit.
all written.
He saw the cue.
It's all written
Yeah,
out.
I gave him a wink, and he was like, "Oh, we're doing the scones
Scone
bit."
thing.
You're just reeling me in. I feel played on this whole thing. You knew where this was going.
When you get back in you're going to realize your wallet's gone when you get in your car, and that's really the end game with this. So what I was going to say, and I think what people that are listening need to understand is, I would argue that in that season especially, country music producers are such a different kind of producer responsibility-wise than I would argue mainstream or Christian, whatever, because in that season you really are you're listening to songs, you're finding songs a lot of times. So it's not just, hey, let's get the band in, cut some tunes, what do you guys got? I mean, you're really, but it's a big job. It's a big leap. It's not just I went from sitting there playing guitar in rooms to like now I'm standing behind the board kind of telling people what to do. It's a lot of responsibility. I mean, like you said, like it kind of lives or dies on not only if you can find the songs, you produce them, and if they're hits. So it's a lot. It's not just, hey, how do we like the bass part? Are the drums too shimmery? It's like, okay,
Well, and
it's building it from the bottom up.
I would say, obviously every role has its challenges, and like we said, the players have a very singular, task that they're doing, but that can be very challenging. But the producer can be like, it can be anything.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can produce it. I've worked with some producers who they might not even know how to turn the computer on.
Yeah.
But that's not their thing. They're all about the ear, and some are very hands-off, and they just make you feel like you are the greatest musician in the world, and they get the best stuff out of you. We've worked with producers who can play every instrument better than probably anybody in the room.
Yeah.
There's all different kinds of ways that you could do your job as a producer, which I think would be really challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's a million ways. Like if you're the guitar player, you're coming in, you're like, well, I'm going to play one of these guitars on this song. I can change my settings, but I'm going to play guitar. If you're the producer, you're like, well, I could sleep on this couch and go Rick Rubin style, or I could get in and micromanage. I mean,
Go play golf.
Go play golf.
Touché.
Yeah.
Touché.
Yeah.
To me, it was just an extension of playing sessions.
Yeah.
So you find out. Personally, for me, I didn't enjoy the idea of being the arbiter of songs. I was always more interested. What do you want to sing?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I was able to transition out of that relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Not that
Which instantly makes the artist love you.
well, yeah. I mean, as long as you have hits, but it's.
I mean, the label might not be happy with that
well,
approach,
and they
but
weren't,
the artist loves you.
Yeah, but it's like that's an artist, right? I mean, if you're just feeding the machine, that's another thing. But the idea of collaboration has always been kind of sacred to me, and it elevates. I get elevated by it, and I feel like then I can do a better job. So if somebody comes in and says, "This is what I want to say," we got to start. How do you want to say it?
Yeah.
Do you have musicians you like? I mean, that was a thing that I learned from these producers who you mentioned earlier too. They weren't dependent upon having any players. They could work with anybody, right? And so again, there's another bar right there. I've never been in going back to baseball. I tend to always go back there, but it's like the teams that always have been really nailing it the last quarter of a century, right? Are not these teams that pay the big salaries. Every once in a while, the Yanks they'll slip through, right? But normally it's not. It's the farm club. It's not having all-stars. I love the teamwork, and a good. So I think all of that plays into it. So what you find yourself doing, you walk into let's just call a project a room. You have to read that room.
Yeah.
See what the requirements are. Find out you have to also be a liaison to the label because you have responsibility to them, but to the artist, what do you want to say? Who do you want to say it with? What do you like?
Yeah.
And that way, again, it's self-serving in the end because you're not producing the same record over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it keeps you in business, and it also you if you're open, you learn, and you take your lumps. I mean, sometimes you find out the hard way on certain things, but overall, I really. I learned, as you all mentioned earlier, by being in the room with great producers, and also I will say I was in the room with a lot of who I wouldn't call them great producers. They were some of them were real scoundrels as far as I was concerned, and I learned as much
language. Dan.
I know. Language. You got there's the Brentwood Academy in me coming out of a little school here in town. Yeah, freaking, and
scoundrel.
Darn it!
Heard that
and all those.
word
I know. That was part of my generation too. You youngsters don't
Jason,
understand.
I want you to actually bleep all those words that you just said. I just want.
Oh, I'm itching to say the originals, but I'm not going to do it.
Originals.
Yeah. But all that you just if you're open to it, you can grow. And again, who imagines that you get something from music?
Yeah.
I always have received more from it than not. Yeah, it has paid the bills. And from that standpoint, it's great. But I still love music, and so you learn it. But at that time, there were two things that happened. Just some things turned wildly into hits that nobody would have, like songs that people passed on 15 times.
Yeah.
That song with Lonestar, Amazed, was
Gosh, what a song.
So what happens? Everybody says you're a genius.
Hey, can I ask you a question about that song?
Oh yeah.
So this, to me, one of the greatest bridges of all time. Key change. Did you write that in the studio?
Oh, I don't know.
See, somebody told me. I remember talking to, I think Marv maybe actually told, because when I met him, one of the guys who wrote it, I was like, that bridge, and I think he laughed. He's like, I think Dan just wrote that in the studio.
Well, we put back in that. Now here's a back in the day story. Everybody's a writer nowadays.
Yeah. You would be a billionaire, by the way, if that were true.
Well, I mean, it was a job, right? I mean, you came up with hooks.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, but that's just part of what you do.
Yeah. So I want to ask you just a little insider baseball to stay with your metaphor really quickly. This is just a selfish question, so humor me.
Yeah.
What do you think, and I'm sure this could be a hour and a half long answer, but as abbreviated as you can, what do you think the biggest differences you feel between production then and production now, like being a producer then and now?
From a technical and artistic standpoint, everything evolves, right? So I hear things that I just go, oh man, I would have never thought about that. What I think from then, if you're talking about 20 or more years ago, and then I go back to analog days, I think what we had was a smaller crayon box. It was like remember when you were a kid and they had the 8 colors, right?
Yeah.
And then you got the 64. I always wanted the 64, right?
Yeah.
It had the sharpener. And are crayons even a thing nowadays, by the way?
It's apps now.
They're hanging on now.
Jeez. Okay, so every one of my metaphors now is...
It's an iPad pen now.
Oh, that hurts. Well, I have no equivalent, so you're just going to have to stick with this one. But I think we didn't have as many options, so there was no paralysis
Wow.
of sound libraries of, here's 8,000 snares, choose one.
Yeah.
And so you had much more simple food groups.
Yeah.
And you had to get on with it. And so I think that is what I hear.
Wow.
The struggle to say something with less available.
Wow.
And so sometimes that tension, you can hear it and feel that in the music, and I think that's a good tension. And we all have our generations of what we listen to. So there's a lot. Most of what I would say probably wouldn't be relevant to your question, but I don't hear. I also I don't hear it, but I know for a fact is that the requirements are different nowadays. There, back in the earlier time, you had to learn the art of mic placement. I'm not an engineer, but I mean all these things, and maybe just the sum total of all that coming together, it affected the music a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I hear now is I hear of a kind of a pivot to that.
Yeah.
People listening, having had 25, 30 years now of what's going on, perfection, all this stuff, life on the grid.
Yeah.
And you knew this was going to happen because everything it's secular. I mean, it's just it's gonna come back in a new way, but certain values hang on because they're good values, right? But they have to be time tested. And so I'm hearing that kind of I wouldn't call it a revolution, but I would say incorporating it. But a lot of what's going on, I mean, that was just younger people doing the same thing, So it's I try not to get too much into the good old days or the judgment. It's good music is good music, and if it makes I always feel like, especially with commercial music, it's just it's a way for people to go, this is how I feel. I can't say it.
Yeah.
When words aren't enough,
There we go.
I know I couldn't
nod
help that
to
one.
the
Good.
record.
I know. That was. I thought I'd sneak that in there.
Out now.
We can get to that later. There on bakedalaskarecords.com.
You have been in the industry for a while, I can tell.
But that's kind of my feeling about it, and
What if anything? And this question is probably coming out of me putting myself in your shoes time and time again, going in to start a new record as the producer. And like Dave said earlier, like it's such a big responsibility. What still makes you nervous at the beginning of a record?
Tracking every time when I go in with a people still call me because I don't generate it just myself. If I did it, it wouldn't be very good. And I think they like me because I touch on certain things that are from the past. Like playing on Motown records and stuff like that, bringing that collaborative side. And I think, as a matter of fact, can I do one more just side thought? I will remember the question.
As many as you want.
Well, because this is I think pertinent to your question. When I was in my late 50s, maybe 57 or something like that, the baseball, again, the pitches felt like they were coming in faster. All of a sudden, it's like, what's going on? I'll never forget that. And it was the technology really had started to move, and I was getting left in the dust on certain things. I just wasn't. I was learning, and it wasn't that I wasn't open to it. I just sensed gravity, and in music years, 50 in music years. That's Methuselah,
Okay,
right?
I'm 47. Jason, would you delete that for any potential clients that may be listening?
I remember seeing, when I was in my 20s, seeing guys 35 years old thinking what were they in the room for? They're ancient. But so anyways,
we're doing like a lifetime achievement thing at the end of the session.
It's like, what? So, so consequently, I started getting, this was I'd been in my third iteration of music career, and I thought maybe this is when I get the Rolex and I just go. It was, and there was a healthy component of fear. Ego, all of a sudden I just kind of felt that thing that every one of us go through. So it's not a new thing, and I got in a conversation with Sherry, as inevitably we always do, and she just saw right past it, and she said, why don't you just do what you do good and quit worrying about trying to be like this alpha? Because at a point, we're all, we're kind of alphas, right? That's kind of our card for getting into the way we represent in the world. We gotta stake our territory. And all of a sudden, I was no alpha, and as a matter of fact, an aging dude, and I had an interesting experience that just totally repunched my time clock. Jesse Frazier, who both of you guys probably know, great, came. He was producing a guy named Thomas Rhett. We all know who Thomas Rhett is. He had, at that time, he had some hits, and I mean, he was doing great, and I was very aware of him. I was a fan of what he was doing, especially with Jay Joyce, who I think is one of the treasures in this. I mean, that guy is so ridiculously great. And they came over to my house. They said they want to talk to me, and I said, "Why? You guys, I heard the music they were doing. They were writing songs. Jesse was writing with Chris Stapleton, this unknown guy. Chris was singing the demos. So anyway, I'm listening to these demos and going, what do you want with me? And they basically articulate, at least how I interpreted it, was that we just want your experience. Okay?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so, and that changed my career again. That moment, I'm so grateful to both of them for that, and because we had some wonderful records. And to answer your question, John, it never is rote for me. So every time that I go in, I'm I always feel aware of my limitations, and you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
experience helps, and I don't panic, but I get nervous every time I go in.
Yeah.
And it's just I've made friends with that nervousness, and as opposed to resisting, and I kind of let it do what it's going to do.
Right.
Maybe it makes me a little bit more conscientious and aware. I don't know. I don't like the feeling though. I've never gotten used to it.
Wow. Still.
No.
Yeah.
No, not one bit. And I think part of it probably is good because you have to let go and say, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Right.
And that'll make you nervous.
I think that is, to me, in the, when I've produced a lot of, just like you, Dan, so many great records and of my own. If there is a thing that stresses me out when I'm producing, it is knowing, and I know John has done this too, we may not have what we need at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like we could try to play this song, and halfway through I'm going, none of this is right. And we have a fixed amount of time to figure that out. I mean, that is the thing that I feel, like you're saying, so acutely every time I walk into work on music in the studio with players.
Yeah.
When you're the producer, it's like if whatever's not working, eventually all the heads are going to turn and look at you.
Yeah.
And be like,
so
all right,
I do have an answer for that, though. I do. I mean, ironically, it doesn't help me deal with the nerves, but through experience and by watching some of these guys before me, I watch people panic, and when the people panic, they get fearful and they lash out, right?
Yeah.
And that is the absolute last thing you want to do.
That's right.
Totally.
That's right.
And then that sort of sets the tone for
permeates the
rest of the room.
Everybody's playing with handcuffs on.
Yeah.
And I'd have learned this is if I taught a course, it would be over in 30 seconds. But in essence, the answer at that point is taking a breath and realizing that you have a collective. If you cast a band, right, you're calling people you think are great.
Yeah, that's right.
The answer is going to be somewhere in that mix, and if you're quiet enough to hear that whisper, you'll find it.
Yeah, that's true.
And what's the worst that's going to happen? You'll fail that day.
Yeah.
But usually it's amazing if you let it go. I mean, come on. These are things we've learned in our earliest kindergarten classes, in churches and spiritual practices and therapy, whatever. You gain your life by losing it. I mean, it's it's a truth because it's a truth, and it pertains to everything, and it pertains to the studio work. And it's, somebody could say, "Oh, you're over spiritualizing that." No, you're not, because it's all spiritual.
Yeah.
It's all personal.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing. Right? There's no difference.
Well, and you know too, like a buddy of mine gave me this quote up here, which I think is a Ronald Reagan quote, but it says, "There's no limit to what a man can do or where he can go if he doesn't mind who gets the credit." And I think if there is a attribute to great producers, it is that. It is an egoless, like, hey, the best idea always wins in the room.
Yeah.
Not mine, just the best idea. And sometimes it's mine, sometimes it's not. And I think, man, that's a very wise word, Dan. And I think the times that I've been so relieved is when I've just been like, I don't know. What do you guys, hey, like, drummer, what are you feeling? I think it's a little fast. And what if the bass player follows me on this and all of a sudden it's like, breath happens. Yeah. And you're like, and
it gives them license to say the thing that they've probably been thinking for the last 10 minutes.
Yep. And then you fire them immediately. This is my
after
record.
the session.
This is my record.
Sure.
But I do.
It was always my idea. That's how it's going to go down.
So something with this being Dadville, a couple more questions. The thing I want to ask, how did you balance family with all this stuff? So, I mean, with LA, the family's starting, but within Nashville, you're busy. Like you're playing on records, you're producing records. What does family look like in the middle of all that?
Well, I had a head start. My parents were just, they did that. My dad was a great musician. Excuse me. He was an orchestrator, and he was fairly famous, and he was really good at what he did. But he had two sons that were playing. My brother Dave plays drums, and I played guitar, and he never asked us. I mean, you see us people score, right? I mean, he's writing down a scoring page for all the parts of the symphony, right?
Yeah.
And he never insisted that it'd be quiet in the house. I'd be playing guitar, whatever, screeching on something. David would be playing something in the other room. And what he would do, this is back in the 70s, so they didn't have Bose, headphones, noise-canceling headphones. So he had a little television he put on his table near where he was orchestrating his piano, and he'd just turn up the piano. Turn up the television. It was, in essence, white noise.
Kind of white noise.
Yeah.
And he would always be at our ball games with his scoring, and he would score.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
And so, and he just that's the way he was. And so, and my mom was the same way. So I ended up,
by the way, what is scene? I'm like, in my mind's eye, I'm imagining, this
big yellow scorpion.
Yeah, and he's looking up. Nice, bud. Nice,
Every pitch is
sharp.
Everyone thinks he's taking stats.
Let's just
on the team.
That's a big. You could get a smaller notepad than that. Sure. But, so I had that, and there was no way to go. I told my dad. He died in 2018, but he was best man at all of his son's weddings, and just I loved him. And excuse me. So I told him one time. I said, compared to you, I'm an asshole. And I meant it. I mean, I'm not that, but he had that thing about him. He never pandered, never patronized people. So I saw him treat his family like that.
Yeah.
So I knew the difference. But ultimately, in answer to your question, I mean, everybody has a choice to make, and there are days when your music will suffer because you spent time with your family, and that's okay. And there are times that your family suffers because you have to do the music. To me, it's just the rebalancing. That's all there is. It's not a perfect science, and but I don't know anybody. Sometimes marriages go bad, and it's inevitable, and that just is what it is. But I don't know anybody that's ever complained when they're old. I wish I had spent more time doing my work. It's just the thing. Right. So it's not that hard, and I love my family. I mean, I've been in love with Sherry since I was 13, which is bizarre, I know, but it's just one of those things. And then I got 3 adult kids. My oldest is going to be 40 this year, so that gives you a little indication of that. But it's one of those things. I'm grateful that I was able to stay and be a studio player, so I didn't have to go on the road that much. So that kind of helps.
Yeah.
So were there times with Sherry? Was she ever like seasonally have times she'd sit down and be like, "Hey, like it'd be great if you could be home around more, like be home more, or like what did that look like with y'all, or was it just kind of
She in L.A. It was so funny in our 20s. We had gone out there, and this was my dream, and she said, I'll go, and I'll never forget. It was about 5 years in. I'm living the dream. I think we just had Ashlyn. We may not have even had her at that point, but one evening she sat down. She said, I need to talk to you. She said, look, I love you, but
that is never a good
Yeah,
start,
that's a
by the way.
great start.
Don't love that
but
start.
yeah. But I'm going to move back to Nashville. We'll still be married. And she said it just like that. That quickly, we'll still be married. But I don't see you as it is. So what's
the difference in me just living in Nashville?
And it was like a ton of bricks. And she meant it. She was not joking.
Holy cow.
And
wait, so Ashlyn had been born?
No, I don't think Ashlyn had been
So you
born.
just had, okay, your son, yep.
And she meant it. And so we're honest. And every once in a while you'd feel that, a decade will go by and homeostasis, and then all of a sudden, we all have different kind of roles, and sometimes it takes you away, and sometimes you have to kind of you make those judgments. You're not always right, but we just talk it out. I mean, it's just it's that kind of thing. She knows that I value her way more than anything else. Anyway.
Yeah.
So and she uses that against me. Can you?
I was gonna say that's a good wife. That's a very
which.
So this is WHICH. So I want to, before we release you to the hounds, before we get to the lightning round, because I know you are just
ready to go.
I want to talk about this new record, okay? And so as you said, I'm gonna say it again. Your first instrumental record. For those who say two, that's such a lie. It's not true. When words aren't enough, which you referenced so beautifully before. In Subterfuge. Making this album, I was curious about this versus other albums. I mean, this is really interesting to me because you make a lot of records for people. What is it like for you to go in with your record and your songs and you're casting the band? Does it feel different than if me or John came to you and said, hey, can we do a record together?
Terror. Just absolute well, I mean, it's like I didn't know if I had anything to say.
Yeah.
And I had been encouraged for years. And why don't you play guitar? And I had so many excuses. I was busy. And the other side of the coin, which I never admit, is I just don't play that much guitar.
Yeah.
There's a perception about me that I'm not. And so there's your ego, there's your fear, whatever it is. And one day, about a year ago, maybe just a little bit more, but I think it was late June, I just sat down, had a couple days that I wasn't doing anything. I was like, well, this is interesting. I got a couple grooves from a live drum library or something like that, and I just sat down with a guitar and just started jamming with a groove, and a song came out. And that was it. So drum groove, maybe a lead guitar and rhythm, something, play chords, no bass or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I did that. I liked it. I listened to it on my phone. It's like, well, that sounds pretty good. And I just press repeat and play for a couple weeks or a month or something like that. I had enough tunes, and it was like, this could be pretty good. So I called the bass and drums.
Who was it on that one, by the way?
Mark Hill.
Yep.
And and first of all, the thing with Mark, I had played a gig with him. I hadn't played with him much in the studio, and I played a live gig. I got called to play in a live band thing about a year earlier at the Musicians Hall of Fame.
Oh wow! And
it was really cool. And this the amp was right in my backside, and it was. I mean, that guy plays with such a ferocity.
Oh yeah.
And then Jerry Rowe, the drummer.
Jerry? Yeah, I know Jerry, of course.
And I'd called Jerry on quite a few records, but there was something about them that the tenor of this record, so to speak, is very, I would say, to my sweet spot, emergence in music, which would be mid to late 70s. I wanted a real innocent sounding, not too layered, all that kind of stuff. I always put too much crap on my record, and this I was determined not to. We had some talks about that, and they heard some of the music. And they both want to do it. They kind of digested the demos, and my idea was to use a bunch of my friends, musician friends. These guys plowed through it in 2 days.
Are you
the whole
serious?
record?
Wow.
Yeah, it was just
the whole record.
Yeah. Well, everything but one song, and so Yeah, and my idea was to take it back then to the house and then really play the proper guitar parts. And I found out very quickly that the demos that I had done were the essence.
Yeah.
Now, and as I was playing, my chops were starting to come back to me. Just the muscle memory, the soul of it was there though, and so this is a good thing. I've been producing enough to at least recognize that, and I realized I had a decision to make, and it's like, is this going to be a record to impress my guitar friends? I mean, number one, that's kind of embarrassing. I can't keep up with these younger players. I'll get on YouTube and watch this. So that would be funny and goofy if I did that. And I also thought that's not really what I was saying when I was writing these songs.
Yeah.
I was writing melodies, and I realized that one of my guitar heroes was Jeff Beck, and all of a sudden I'm thinking there was no difference between melody and solos.
Yeah.
In other words, the head of the song or the melody of the song was not written as an excuse to impress people and play solos.
Right.
It was all. That's why people go to see Jeff Beck concerts when he was in his 70s.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I was learning as I was emerging and learning at 64 years old, which is the greatest gift that I got back. I didn't know I was going to be given the gift of this music. I was doing it on my own too. I didn't have I didn't sign any record deal, and I was just funding it myself. I asked back again. I said, "Sherry, do you mind if I spend some money on myself?" At this point, she said, "Anything to get you out of the house. Just will take it." And no, she was so gracious. And it was this like walking into a path and a force you have no clue where you're going.
Yeah.
And I
I
felt like a kid, and that was the other gift. I came kind of full circle back to myself, and that so this is really it's a journey is what it is, and I actually really enjoy. I can listen to the record, and it's because I didn't for once overdo it.
Yeah.
I mean, I fixed stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's not like and the guitar playing is exactly what I mean. I think it plays to my strengths. It's about nuances. It's really, I can't separate this record from who I am. It is. That is as much me as I can possibly be. If you like it, great. If you don't, I mean, you just wouldn't like me, I guess. So that's because I really can't do anything more than be that. But that for me, being a chameleon all my life, or a studio player, that was the terrifying thing of stepping up front and saying, I can't hide behind anybody on this.
Right.
It's funny you said that. Three of the things that I thought about were, one, I was really amazed at how much it feels like a band. Because, when you think, hey, a legendary guitar player who's a producer is going to do an instrumental, all the math leads to, oh, this is going to be, this is the apex. This is where, his production meets his playing, and it's going to be like, and with each song, I was like, man, this feels like a band record. This isn't a, hey, check me out, super production guitar player. It feels like a band record, which is funny because when I listened to Southern Synchronicity, that was the one I was like, the fiddle thing.
Who does the fiddle on that kind of
But
stuff?
it's so cool because I thought, one, how simple it feels in such a band way. Two, I loved, and I told John, we were talking about it, I was like, it made me smile every time where you'd kind of rip a lick, where it'd be like playing the melody, and I was like, everybody that loves you is like, it's feeding their soul to know, like, you have these moments where it's like, you kind of unbutton the bottom two buttons and kind of flex for a second, and then you button it back up. It's like, because that's what I'm wanting. I want to hear, like, just give me a little,
passion
every now and then. But also, which I loved, all that belongs, the guitar thing, the acoustic,
Everything belongs.
Everything belongs. I was like, I just loved that there was a moment in such a big electric record. That there's an acoustic piece. And if you'd have come to me and said, hey, A&R this record, I think that'd be the one thing I would have said. It was just like, man, I think for the fans, we'd love a moment that's just an acoustic moment.
That was the song I wrote for Sherry originally because I thought it kind of, it basically was descriptive of the...
Everything Belongs is.
Yeah, it was actually, shall we say, the multiplicity of her, of just who she is.
Yeah.
She's a layered human being, and I've gotten to be with her all these years and grow with her. And she heard the tune, and she said, "Yeah, that's nice. what else you got? I know, and so
She's a tough A&R.
oh man, she heard this other song. She go, ooh, that's kind of 70s, and I already knew that I was gonna call the song for her. I thought when words aren't enough, that's a perfect descriptive code for I can't write lyrics worth damn. So, but that was the way I was going to spin it, and no, truly, that's what I love about music, just because it can go where words can't go, and vice versa. But so she said that's the song for me. I said, that's your wish, and so everything. What did I call it? It All Belongs. Yeah, it was my offshoot of one of the people that has meant the most in my life is a man that I don't know. It's Father Richard Rohr. He's Franciscan priest, and he has enriched my life in more ways than reading his books, and I love that man, and I'll never meet him, and he has a podcast or a book called Everything or It All Belongs, or something like that. So that was my tip of the cat. Sure, he did say, "Can I have both?" And I said, "Nope.
No, you only get one.
You get one." And that's how that
one for every woman in your life. Have you found? I mean, I know you just put the record up, but I would imagine too doing a record. It's so funny that you do it in this season of life you're in, because I would imagine it.
Should we unpack that just a little bit, or just list?
When I said that,
he's got nothing else to do. Is what
when
he said.
I said that, I was like, "You better move, Dave." He's already tagged it. He's clocked it, and he's just following me. But I think
you gonna let that stand, John. You're gonna help me out.
Well, let me say what I mean by that. Is that if you had made that record when you started producing, I wonder how it would have affected, because you feel like an artist all of a sudden. You're going in kind of, guys like this. How do I, what's my band? Who do I want? Like, how much do I produce this? And so it's interesting doing it now, because I just wonder, as you keep producing records, if that's going to be something, having just experienced it as an artist, to go, oh man, when you say that now, I know exactly what you mean. Where before it was like, okay, well, don't worry about that. Where now you're like, oh man, I remember walking and doing that and feeling what you just said, Yeah,
it affects it affects me in a little bit different way. Is that I didn't do this for an extension of career or commercial outing. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I just assume that nobody's gonna. I mean, I hope people like it.
Yeah.
But so it affected me in a way that. Well, anytime you are honest, right? It affects your music. So it does affect the way I look at other people and artists. When I was in Giant and we were living week to week by radio ads, that clued me into that existence of fear.
Of course. Yeah.
This I haven't really thought about that. I don't know that I have a good answer for you. It does affect me. It's more personal for me, just because I feel like a musician again. My own. Yeah. I feel like my hands are my hands. All that kind of stuff matters to me, and I don't know. I mean, maybe you'll have to have me on when I turn 95 and next year, and we can figure out what that is.
John
what that
answer is. I may be dead before that. It's funny. One of my best friends produced my early records. A guy named Ed Cash. He's in a band called We the Kingdom, and it was funny catching up with Ed because, Ed was an artist for a while. Then he produced for forever, and then he started a family band with his kids, and they've had a ton of success. But he I think he started when he was 50. The band with his kids. So, I mean, it was a really weird move, because it goes from like, and I remember the first time we caught up, because I didn't see him for a minute, because he's out touring and doing like the artist thing, and they were having a lot of success. So he was really busy. And one of the first conversations we had that was so amazing is I was like, dude, like, how are you doing? And one of the things he said was, he's like, man, it has just given me such a insight into the artist's life. He's like, because, after producing so many records, I just had kind of forgotten what that's like.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, now that we're doing our records and I'm the artist and I'm doing photo shoots and posting, TikToks, whatever, he's like, it has just really helped me remember and relate to artists as I continue to produce, because I'm like, oh man, I feel that again, which
I can see that
would be such an interesting,
Now I'm not as up on the posting. I mean, I'm getting into the game a little bit, but no, that empathy, I think is more from me, just on the terror of exposing
putting yourself out there.
Well, I mean, it's just it's like, because a little different for me, because I'm not asking I want everybody to like me. I mean, that's I don't know that is anybody impervious to that. I wish
Yeah.
I was, but I'm just not.
Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I wish I
notoriously just no
Everybody likes
empathy.
her.
Yeah,
Oh.
nobody likes.
look. Right. No, okay, I got me on that one. I wish that I could. I've heard artists say, "Look, I'm doing this for me, and I don't care if somebody likes it or not."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I couldn't honestly say that. I'd like to believe that about myself.
Well,
But-
I definitely think that there are people who do not. I mean, they are razor focused on whatever they think the right thing, for the record is, or for their businesses or whatever. I definitely think there are people who don't care how they're affecting other people.
That's a.
I say that
enviable.
just to say you. It sounds like have never been on that track. I mean, and the fact that it sounds like have naturally just been kind of empathetic and cared about the people in the room. Not worried about your ego. That's not just a given. Especially with somebody who's had as much success as you've had, as early on as you've had. I would say that's maybe more the rarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, success. I mean, it can be a double.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's the cliche? Is it
Double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. Thank you. I was going to say a double-sided coin.
Well, listen, it can be that too.
Yeah, it's
Double-sided sword.
It does. It gets you to the point where yes, the empathy is great because I mean, we want to be liked, but also if you really, I do get this. If you want to be honest, and you actually achieve that honesty with yourself first, that's got to be it.
Wow,
that's very powerful.
Yeah,
and then from that standpoint, now I will say this in people that I'm producing right now, my day job still, it makes me that much more committed to that. I'm asking them those questions.
Yeah, that's great.
And so I
Man,
think
that's
it
great.
took me. I mean, seriously, I didn't have an answer for you on that for a minute. I did from the first go round as an artist when I was in that rock band. But I think that's the byproduct of this.
Yeah.
And so it's wonderful, and it just I mean, for me it's a full circle because I love music, and the beauty of getting to do it for the prominent part of my life. Gratitude, it's a gift, it's great, it's done a lot of things, but there's a price that extracts from you.
Wow.
At least for me, because because of the demands of it to be the demand to be successful, right?
Yeah.
It takes you away from that thing that we all did when we were in our bedrooms practicing our instruments, whatever we're doing. We weren't seeing the world through that prism then.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, sometimes I think that having music as your hobby could be more sacred.
Yep. What a good word.
Right.
My gosh, what a good word.
So I'm rediscovering because I'm playing small ball with this record. This is not meant. I mean, of course, would I love a lot of people to hear? Of course I would, but I have to keep remembering why I did it, and it just pulls me back into that place, and it's coming back to these we call them spiritual truths. The rich person is the person who doesn't want anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not an excuse for anything. It's just the truth. So I got this little record, and I'm thrilled. And it's being marketed pretty niche. Guitar players are nerds. So me being the quintessential nerd, we find out what people are doing, and people that were interested in my life, my career. I think they're finding this, and for the most part, that's
what you want.
I hope, yeah.
Yeah.
And if they don't like it, I always, I tell them, just don't tell me, because I got really thin skin, and I will cut you. There's a whole thing there.
There's a double-edged sword in my hand.
That's L.A. That's just your time in L.A. poking through is what that is.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
I knew it's like the shot at the end of the doctor's visit, or
dude, how much does that?
This is
the rubber gloves.
I've forgotten about that. I've forgotten about the shot at the end. Oh man!
But not the rubber gloves. You know what that sound is?
Yeah, that's a whole other.
Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me of Juvie.
You going first?
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go first. Here we go. Who is one artist that you would still love to produce?
Bono.
Jeez, Louise. starting off.
I was about to say present company excluded.
that
but
would
I didn't
mean
even get a chance to.
I'll never even get it. I'm so glad you led with that one. I asked your producer to send me all the questions. No, he didn't. No, but I have loved that. Not Bono, you too.
Yeah.
I have admired them all my life.
Yeah.
And I love philosophically where they're at, and I really won't get that chance. But
Okay, let's don't say that.
yeah, it's okay.
Bono's
That'd be a great record,
He's a
too.
big listener, so
That'd be a great record. Also, can I just point out the irony of your anxiety about the lightning round? No one has ever answered a question that fast. In the lightning round.
Vince Gill did.
Did he?
Did he?
Yeah. Well, you asked him his you can tell I'm a Vince Gill fan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You asked him his favorite song. It was Desperado. His favorite song of him was Whenever You Come Around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, like that. That was an easy one. Here we go, number 2.
All right, number 2.
The last one.
What's one song you wish you had played on?
See right there, that pause. There's so many. I've never thought about that. What I wish I had played on.
It's because the rich man is the man who doesn't want
Look at
anything.
that.
You've
See,
never
man,
even thought
you
about
just
this.
set your own trap.
Well, I could go the cheap route and just say, well, the streets have no name, but that's a cheap answer. Let's come back to that one.
Okay. All right.
Is that allowed in this lightning round?
You won't be asked back, but we will loop back. Okay, how about this? Now I want to tell you, you're in the safe space with these next couple because I know you're gonna be like, no, you can get me in trouble. If you hadn't married your wife, no, I'm kidding. Favorite album?
I can answer that one easy. I had another girlfriend, but and there.
What I wanted you to say, did you guys ever watch Dallas? And then we're just going to follow that.
Dallas.
So, favorite album you've produced. Now, what I want to qualify this with, because I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I mean, it can be holistically. The fun you had, the players, the artists, the
songs. We're not saying maybe this isn't the best album.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying.
Your favorite experience.
I can answer that one. I think because there was an album that framed me.
Wow.
And so I'll say, I mean, I don't even know how to quantify favorite experience because actually the experience is so meaningful, but it had so many different emotions attached to it. There's a bit of combativeness to it.
Wow.
But it was the record as far as when I produced, it was a part of it. It shaped everything for me, and it elevated me. It did so many things, and I'm so grateful. And again, it's not saying it's the best record. Yeah, it was a wonderful record, and it's Golden Road with Keith Urban.
Oh yeah, what a record!
And I again I say that.
I love
that same year. I mean, this sounds pretty self-aggrandizing, but I don't mean it. That same year, it was a really seminal year because I also started producing Rascal Flatts that year, and we did the song called "What Hurts the Most" and "Life Is a Highway" and "My Wish." So those records,
big records.
I mean, so either one of them would have been fine.
Yeah.
But those were serious experiences. Yeah. I'm still thinking about the other question. By the way. I'm not letting that go. But keep going.
I just see one of your eyes wandering.
Can we zoom in a little more and do favorite song you've produced?
Yeah, that gets tougher. And here's the honest answer. I wish I remembered all the songs that I produced.
I was going to say it's a lot at this
is
point.
when the dementia starts kicking in about this time of day. Favorite song that I produced. There's no. The answer is I don't have one, and it's because I don't think of it in those. I could answer a month and a half ago. I did a song with Ashley Cook called "The F Word" that I absolutely love.
That's great.
And I love the title. Obviously, there's some double entendre there.
Yeah.
We know what the F word is, right?
Forgive. Sorry, what is your faith? No,
Forever.
Mechanical forever.
Yeah. You don't say that in young, it's
That's
and
good.
so in truth, that's not me copping out. I know I had a great first answer, and I'm going to relive all this too on my drive back to my house
You're gonna call me.
because I am determined to answer the second question. That question is an honest answer. I don't have one.
Yep.
And that is the truth.
Is there? Well, let me addendum that question by saying this. Is there a song that every time, and it could be a lot of songs, but is there a song like if you're driving home today and you have the country radio station on, and it comes on a song you've produced, you're always like, you smile and you turn it up.
Most of them, no. I always think, God, I could have done that.
Really?
Oh
Yeah.
no. That's the
You're
hardest.
hearing the thing that's not there, or the thing you did too much or whatever.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
There was that song. This is so non-lightning. I'm gonna get off on another tangent. Is that allowed?
No,
or is
please.
that-
Yes.
The first studio song I'm mentioning, Rascal Flatts. We had a wonderful run on making what I thought were some pretty good records.
Yeah.
The first song I did with them was that cover of Life is a Highway, so that didn't really count because that
Yeah,
wasn't going to be on a record. It ended up being on. But the first song that I did with them was called What Hurts the Most.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just a great song. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
every
What a
bit of
song.
that, Jeff Steele, and I apologize, I can't remember who he wrote that with. That's horrible. But, and I remember Justin Niebank and I he mixed it. I was producing it. We had done it at the studio. They didn't have any big speakers in the wall. And I got in my car. They were playing it on the radio for the first time. Here's Rascal Flatts. They had some great hits before I got on. I started producing them, right? So this is my first one. There's quite an expectation. I had a little padding because Keith was becoming, And I got in my car in the driveway. Somebody said it's on Jerry House's show on WSIX. Crank on. And the sub bass was so massive. Never heard anything like that on country music. I almost threw up. I called up Justin Niebank and I said, I think we should have had some bigger monitors. I thought this is going to tank their career.
Oh my gosh.
I almost threw up. I just thought the bass is way too loud. How could I not have heard that? The reason I did is because all the speakers I listen on are little teeny small. I listen at a quiet, and it didn't tank their career and it didn't tank mine. But yeah, everything that I usually work on, I listen to it with absolute loathing for at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, now I can hear something maybe 30 years later that I go, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But
God.
it doesn't. I think part of the idea of producing for me is that I go after the album cuts. I mean, I don't hear as different any difference from the singles. I know what the drivers are, but I love the songs. So consequently, a lot of songs I think are going to be really good. Just nobody cares about them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's true.
Yeah, it's funny. What's that? I don't know who the quote is by, but all good art is abandoned. Like the idea that like at some point you just have to say it's done. Like nothing.
That's Springsteen.
It's or it could have been Weird Al, but just the idea that like I saw Derek Wells posted something about this the other day, and I thought it was so true. He was doing a podcast and they had a little clip of it on his feed, and Derek was just saying, I don't know anybody that's ever gone working on a record like, all right, yeah, that feels good, we're done. It's just you have a date, you have
to
time,
eventually
and you have to turn in.
let it go.
Yeah.
And so I think it's such a natural process for all of us to hear something and be like, God, why didn't I add that? Or why is there so much of that or whatever? Because we're never done, right?
Never, and I think that's also speaks to growth, and you can't separate that from who you are.
Yeah,
so
right.
I mean, I think the key is to just not, be so self-effacing and to where you can't enjoy what you do too.
Yeah.
I can enjoy it, but I've never thought in terms of favorite, and like I said, I felt confident answering that one question only because it felt it was what it meant. I don't know if it's better than other things or what, because that's subjective, right? I mean, who of any of us can tell what's better?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's human nature.
Okay.
I'd love to play it on that song.
Wow, that was amazing. You landed that.
Yeah, but I don't even know if that's a true answer. I just felt the need to. I need to get beyond that because our lightning round may take us into dusk tonight.
What phenomenal parts on that song, by
Steve
the way.
Lukather.
Good gracious mercy.
Yeah, Steve Lukather.
Okay, last question.
Be honest though, there were 10 more, and you're just cutting it because you know I can't.
We
handle
just
this.
have what favorite child. We have favorite wife. It's all favorites, and so we just saw how much you got stuck.
Favorite
so
host today.
I always ask
host.
I ask one of my daughters that you got one of my daughters. She has 4 sons, and I go, okay, if you had to get rid of one of them, or either keep one, it's Sophie's choice. It's the worst thing in the world.
We know you've thought about it.
We
You
know
got to
you've
get rid of one.
Of course, they look at me. Okay, well, what's good?
Yeah, Dad.
I got an answer, but I'm not going to tell you.
You're never going to hear
I
it.
got an answer, but I'm not going to tell you. Okay, final question. If you wrote a book on being a dad, what would it be called?
That's a great question. It'd be called Wait For It.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, were you rolling from the second I got in here?
I was literally about to say how you were talking about how you talk to your girls no less than 3 times a day, which blows my mind, by the way.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not cutting Elliot out, but he's a son. I love my parents, but if I called him once a month, that would be a lot.
Yeah.
You just call when you.
Yeah.
Daughters, the dynamic is a little different, and and you pay to get to that point too. I will say that. And Ashlyn and Maddie, if you ever hear this, I stand by my word. No, it is. Everything is. It's. You don't get it all at once. You wait. You wait, and patience begets more patience, and it's always worth it. That'd be another one too. I mean, the pain is you can't take out. I'm going to back up. The only times I've ever learned anything in life is not through success.
Yeah,
it's through pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so inevitably, when you're with a family, you raise a family, there is going to be pain.
Yeah.
And you cannot, of course, even when you get to the point of in your life when we're all sitting here with dads, and we all say yes, we all nodded when we said pain is only the way that you learn anything, right? Well, what's the first thing you try to eradicate in your kids' lives?
Yeah, definitely.
They're smart mouths. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Besides
pain.
that,
Sorry,
and once
pain.
you slap that out of them, no, you make it your life's mission to make sure that they don't face, and we justify it by saying or rationalize it by saying, giving you a heads up, but only when you run into that cement wall, sometimes for the 10th time, that's when the epiphany comes.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll say, now, I mean, I'm in the next layer of life, which is, I have 5 grandsons, and the oldest of which is 6. But it's the same thing again. It's just, there's so much love, so much anticipation about a future that you as God are imagining for these souls, and you realize that you're not God, and they're going to suffer the same things, and so you wait. You wait for it, and if you can sit in that stew, I don't think you ever get used to it. I think maybe you get used to the fact that you're not going to ever get used to it. So there's it's music, it's all the same stuff, but it's. What was my title? Now I've already forgotten.
We've had a few. There'll be a few to pick from.
But it's worth it, and like my dad said when I was growing up, and I was trying to get out of this grade on the math test. He said, "Don't you understand that this math class affects your music?" He knew that anything music. I was like, "What are you talking about? It's all the same thing. There's nothing different. Your music is going to affect your math. Your baseball is going to affect that. It's like you can't extract one from the other.
Yeah.
Here's not your spiritual side and your human side. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Well, business and personal, which is funny.
It's all that, and so, I mean, but don't you guys agree that if you sit and you get quiet, you learn as much from watching and being part of the family. You get to, you don't own these kids. We don't own them.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I mean, if there's anything that I've learned from being a dad, it is that I don't have control.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there You just got to stay there, be there for them.
That's and even if you don't, I told my oldest daughter one time. We had her when we were at 24, and when she was 20, I said, "Hey, Ash, I'm sorry I wasn't there for, as much as I am for your other siblings because they were born at 5-year increments." And she looked at me and she said, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, I just wasn't there." She said, "You were there." So, and it hit me.
What a win.
Well, yeah. I mean, I pulled the shade over her eyes. No, I was there. Even if mentally I wasn't there, and that really made me feel a lot better too, because when you're in your 20s, your mind's everywhere, but in the moment. That's the one thing I think about people having the chance to have kids later in life, because you've lived a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think where your intentions are, I think that's what your kids feel.
Yeah.
That's a great word.
And
what a great word.
Yeah, and it's not, and I don't mean it's not quality time. I don't buy that, because quality time to who? But my intention was to love that girl. So, it's just one of those things. It's unfolding. So I don't have any wisdom anymore.
It's funny that you said that, Dan. John and I talked about this. I don't know if we talked about that on a podcast or just in a conversation, but I do feel like as my kids get older, because I've messed so much stuff up, and and I've full of all of my things, but that's really my hope as much as anything with mine, is that as they get older, that they know what my intent was, because I didn't always achieve that. But if they can, somebody says like, "What do you think of your dad?" And like, you know what? I know what he meant to do, and he loved me and he did the best he could with that. That to me is such a win, because I'm going to miss, but that word, it's funny you said that has been a word I've thought a lot about this year. I just really hope that my kids know my intent, that they see that my intention is good, whether that's always executed well or not,
They feel it in their bones, even if they can't articulate it.
Yeah, I hope so.
I thought, and you guys have teenage girls, is that what we were talking about?
Almost. I have 12 and 9.
12, 9. You said,
Yeah.
And what about you?
I'm not sure what's going on.
Their names? I thought, and again, this sounds like I'm trying to get a favor from Vince Gill, which I'm not. But his answer.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same question, so I loved his answer about having grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember that answer? I do.
No.
I don't. What did he say?
Yeah. He said it, and I thought, God, I've known that, but I never could articulate that. He said that having grandkids for him, this paraphrase, is that it's not the cliche. It is, the cliche is true. The cliches are true because they've been done enough.
Right.
Yes, you can hand them back, and that's a lovely aspect of when you're tired and when they're running you around. But he said it's the first time that you actually can say, your kid says, "Now I know how much you love me."
Yeah.
And us,
Jeez.
that was the gem, man. That one, you guys could have ended the whole podcast on that one. So.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. Well, again, guys, the new record is out, When Words Aren't Enough.
The only record.
We really want to drill that in here. The only record we would not suggest you
Don't
spend
go
any time
looking
with
for
solos. Golly.
Thank you I do appreciate you bringing that up. And thanks for the questions. I mean, you guys are.
This was great.
Legend, Dan.
Thank you so
I
much
have been
for giving us your
excited
time.
about this. As John said, he called and we were preparing for it, and he's like, so I was like, "No, John, you don't need questions. I have all the questions. You just you help us stay on track.
It's
So
like,
you will have done.
We
your
just
job
need to make
today."
sure that Dave doesn't ask you 8 hours of questions.
all the osmotic questions. Hey,
Osmotic.
That